I love making fish pakora. To me, it's almost like an Indian version of fish fingers, and I love fish fingers. First thing I'm going to do is just dry off the fish that I've already prepped in my bowl. I like to use white fish for this, so I'm just going to use a kitchen roll and just pat all the fish dry. I also like to keep my fish in fairly nice, big, large chunks, just because when you're picking up those pakora, you want something fairly substantial to eat. So just pat your fish so that it's nice and dry. And just throw that away. And then what I'm going to do is marinade the pieces of fish. And I'm going to do that quite simply, just with a few basic spices. Some salt for seasoning, just sprinkle that on. I'm going to put in some garam masala for that lovely warming sensation. And I'm also then going to put in some grated ginger, probably about a nice heaped teaspoon. Just sprinkle that in. And I'm going to crush some garlic as well. So I'm going to use probably 2 cloves of garlic that I'm just going to bash and just chop up very, very roughly. Just go over that again. And then just pop that straight in. I like mine fairly spicy, so I'm going to put in 2 chilies as well. Again, finely chopped. And sprinkle that in as well. And the final thing I'm going to squeeze in there is some lime juice. You can use lemon juice, I just prefer to use lime juice because it's just slightly more delicate. So just squeeze all the juice out of 1 lime straight into your fish. And that's going to just start to bring all of those lovely flavours in the marinade together. There we go. Just pop that to one side. And just using my hand, I'm just going to stir all of those lovely flavours into the fish. I'm going to leave that to marinade for probably about half an hour. So I'm just going to pop that in the fridge. To make the batter, I'll be using gram flour, roughly about 100 grams. And what you want to do is just sieve that through to make sure there's no big chunks. So just using a spoon, just sieve that through your sieve. There we go. And for some additional flavour, I like to add some spices to the batter as well. And one of the key things I'm going to add are these little seeds, and these are called garam seeds. They're not used an awful lot in Western cooking, but they have a fair bite to them. They've got almost like a thyme flavour, but they are very strong. We tend to use them in Indian cooking, in Indian breads. They're very good for you, great for tummy, if you get bloated or anything like that. So they've got their health benefits as well. So I'm just going to put a teaspoon of those in. If you can't find garam seeds, by all means just substitute them for cumin seeds instead. I'm also going to add a little bit of chili powder, just a teaspoon. And half a teaspoon of salt for seasoning. I'm also putting in 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and the reason I'm doing that is that I want my pakora to be lovely and light and aerated. So just put in a nice big teaspoon of baking powder. I'm also going to put in some fresh coriander, just a pinch full of that. I'm looking to get a fairly thick batter, so don't add too much liquid, but just pour in some water and just bring all of those lovely ingredients together. Just do it slowly so that you get the right consistency. So that is too thick. So it needs to be thin enough for you to dip your fish into, but thick enough so that it still clings onto the fish. And it's starting to get that beautiful, almost golden orange colour. And that's a mixture of the gram flour and the chilli powder together. Just pouring in a little bit more. And whilst you're doing this, what you want to do is almost beat the batter so that you start to aerate it. Because each one of those pieces of fish, you want to have that lovely golden crisp light batter around it. So just give it a little bit of and that's the sort of thickness that we're looking for. So once your batter's ready, you just need to go and grab your fish and then we're ready to fry. So that's been in the fridge for half an hour marinating. It's looking like it's really absorbed all of those lovely flavours. The next thing we're going to do is start to cook the fish, and just before I do that, I'm just going to check the temperature of my oil. I've had this heating on a fairly low heat for about 20 minutes or so, just so that it heats all the way through. And what I want to do is just quickly check that it's at the right temperature. And all I'm going to do is just drop in a little blob of my batter. And if that sinks and fizzes and comes right up to the top, then I know it's ready. So that's looking great to me. I'm just going to grab a dish to put my cooked fish into. Go. And I'm going to go in with my first piece of fish. So just pop it straight in. Just make sure it's all coated and it's all covered. And then straight into the fryer. And that's going to take just a couple of minutes just to cook through. You want it to go a beautiful sort of golden brown colour on the outside, but you need to make sure that the fish is actually cooked all the way through. So just give it a couple of minutes. Be very careful when you're doing this, because a lot of people aren't used to frying in this way. You just need to be careful whenever you're using hot oil. I'm going to put in half a dozen or so. You can see they're starting to crisp up. I just want them to go a touch more golden in colour. Whenever I'm deep frying like this, my preference really is to use rapeseed oil. I find that it's much lighter and it's just a really nice oil to use when you're doing any kind of cooking that involves this sort of frying. So they're starting to look like they're pretty much there. You have a look, they're starting to get that beautiful goldeny brown colour. So once you've got that beautiful golden brown colour, just fish them out with a slotted spoon and just put them onto some kitchen roll. Make sure you turn your oil off because you don't want that to continue heating. But these they look really good. You've got to make sure that you eat these as soon as they come out of the fryer. That's the time when they're beautifully crisp, they're crunchy. If you leave them hanging around, you're going to lose that. So it's really important to get in there straight away. Chip shop fish done my way.